Yeah, Weege show right here. What's up, Seth Rowe? Looking good.
How you doing, buddy?
Looking a little corporate, I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
It's all right. Part of the job. Hey, it's the Weege show. We are at the Big A. I mean, literally, the Big A is over here. It is Anaheim 1. It was electric, it was loud. I think it was louder than it usually is here in Anaheim. And I'm not a recency bias guy. I'm not one of these guys that always says like the last thing was the best ever, the gnarliest ever, that was the funniest ever. No. That's why I was trying to pump up Cooper Webb in the off season and Dylan Ferrandis. These guys have been successful in the past. Just because they haven't been successful in the most recent time doesn't mean they're out of it. Just because Cooper Webb wasn't the best Supercross rider in 2022 doesn't mean he's not going to be a contender in 2023. I'm not all about the recency bias. I'm willing to look back at history and the past. But I'm gonna say, I've been to like 60 Anaheim 1s, something like that. Maybe there's not Anaheim 1s, sorry. That would make me 70 years old. I've been to probably 60 Anaheim Supercrosses or something like that, 2 or 3 a year times 20 years. That's the loudest I've ever heard this crowd because of the action. And that is awesome to be able to say that. We'll get into some of the reasons why. But first I want to thank Race Tech. You know the gold valves. Yeah, we're back for 2023. They'll make your suspension plusher, better bottoming resistance, more traction, made and engineered in the USA. And this racetrack, you need gold valves. Because this racetrack was super gnarly, and that was the main theme that every rider was talking about all night long. The track was tough, and it made a massive difference in how the race played out. Curbs all the way across, potholes in the faces of jumps. That was the theme of all the 450 riders, and that led to the chaos, and that led to the excitement. So let's get into why this crowd was this loud. 2 factors. A, shout out to my boy from Racer X, Aaron Hansel, for mentioning this idea of, hey, there's a lot of crowd favorites. Let's just count how many riders were getting huge responses from the crowd tonight at Angel Stadium. Eli Tomac, the Renaissance last year, the crowd really has fallen in love. To say, this is a living legend we're getting to see right in front of us. Tomac is way more popular than he's ever been. And you can also see his response to the crowd. He's so happy to be here. He's become a crowd favorite. Chase Sexton got huge responses tonight. That run in the outdoors, people are really seeing him as a superstar of the sport. He's getting cheers. Everybody loves Malcolm Stewart. He's getting cheers. Everybody loves Jason Anderson, the El Hombre Team Fried personality, and he's very good. He's getting cheers. Aaron Plessinger, you know that personality, he's getting cheers. We're up to 5 guys already now who are crowd favorite type guys. Adam Cianciarulo, everybody wants to see Adam Cianciarulo do well. Now we're up to 6 guys. You just keep going through this list of crowd favorites, and the crowd is wanting to see action from all their superstars, and then we actually, thanks to the gnarly track, got it. Can I even keep track of what happened? Let's see, it starts with Justin Barcia getting the lead. What an exciting thing to have happen, because when Barcia's in the lead, especially at the opener, where people are trying to avoid, you know, big shenanigans and try to just keep it chill, keep it cool, round 1, you can't win the title, but you can certainly lose it. When Barcia's in the lead, it's kind of like Houston round 1, 2021 with Roxon behind him. They deal with Barcia with the proverbial, it is a balloon with a porcupine, be careful. And when Tomac got behind him, you could tell they've got a long history. I think Tomac was like, I am not getting into it with Barcia tonight. I'm gonna try to wait it out. The track's gnarly, maybe I'll make a mistake. That allowed everyone to stay close. Cooper Webb had a not so good start and stalled, and he was pretty far back, but he said he was surprised that no one was really breaking away. Then Tomac finally did make the move on Barcia, and then Barcia crashed. That feels like it was 5 hours ago that Barcia was leading laps, because so much stuff happened after that. Like Barcia was maybe gonna have that Anaheim 1 magic again, but not tonight. I had another crash later. And then there was a freight train. And then Tomac said he got too far back on the seat of his Yamaha on the tunnel tabletop over the start, and he crashed. And you know, it's very hard even for a guy like Eli Tomac to crash and win races. So that looked like his night was done. And when he got up, Webb was right behind him, and Webb was feisty. This was the Cooper Webb we used to see. Forget the recency bias. It's the 2021, 2019 Webb, who on a tricky track like this was gonna be able to find new lines. And I'm like, well man, what if Webb gets ahead of Tomac here? Meanwhile, up front, Malcolm Stewart was in the lead, crowd favorite. They were going nuts. They were so pumped. Oh, I forgot another crowd favorite, Ken Roczen. Everybody loves the Suzuki story. That's 6 crowd favorites. He was right there in the mix. And Chase Sexton as well. Roczen made a few mistakes, as did everybody on this track. Sexton was in second, got around Malcolm, took the lead. Looked like he was gonna win the race. That's 4 or 5 guys that looked like they were gonna win. Then Sexton said he actually got nudged, I guess in a rut, ended up in third gear when he thought he was in second. It's a long rhythm lane, a triple from left field down to the home plate. He was in third, he needed to be in second, he couldn't get all the jumps. Said that rhythm lane felt like it took forever. And lo and behold, at that point, Tomac was back up to second and then caught him and got around him. Crowd went nuts again. Ferrandis and Webb were having a hellacious battle, as was Plessinger. He was in that fight. Plessinger looked way better than he ever did, I think, at any point last year, even better than when he got second at round 2 last year. Plessinger looked great. He was in the fight. He and Anderson were scrapping, going back and forth. Anderson had his shot. Anderson crashed a ton in practice. I don't know, 3 or 4 times he crashed. Some big ones, some small ones. But he was in position to podium until he crashed again in the main. So he still looked good, except for that. Was a contender for sure. And then Webb was finally able to get around Ferrandis. And he had said, he got behind Tomac when Tomac got up and got into a cat and mouse game with Ferrandis and then lost some ground there. But late in the race, you know what Webb does? He figures out the lines when the track is at its absolute worst. It was total renaissance, exactly Cooper Webb's strengths. He could jump the whoops, he could cut down in turns, he could change lines, and that's what he did. He got to Sexton. Sexton said he was kind of stuck, didn't change his lines enough. Webb got around him, and then once Sexton saw the different lines of Webb, he picked it up, almost got Webb back at the end. It's kind of exactly what you want to see. The guys that you expect to do well, did well. There's no cause for panic or alarm. 2023 Yamaha for Tomac, no problem. He said he was genuinely surprised how good they were around 1 on an all-new bike. Chase Sexton did take a lot of those lessons learned in a title fight last year with Tomac in motocross. He said he felt much more comfortable the front end of the bike, much less twitchy than it was when he threw away the lead at this race a year ago. So he was really happy with the bike, much more comfortable in the whoops also, and the mentality of dealing with that pressure and trying to win and battle Eli and whatnot. All those lessons that we were hoping Sexton would take from pro motocross into Monster Energy Supercross, he did. So that's a great sign if you're a fan. And whether you're a Cooper Webb fan or not, I did not have him on that fan favorite list I gave you. Crowd wasn't going crazy when Webb was making passes. In fact, I think a lot of people here were like, how did Webb get second? I didn't even see that. But that's what Cooper Webb does. And why not have that extra dynamic in this championship? Sexton versus Tomac like we saw last year, but throw in the feisty Webb, the crafty Webb. That's good stuff. And don't worry, Jason Anderson rode well. He's still gonna be a contender. Best I've seen Aaron Plessinger ride in a long time. That's great. And Malcolm Stewart, man, we almost had Malcolm Stewart winning Anaheim 1. Do you know how nuts the crowd would have gone? He made a mistake while I was in the lead, and then later I think he hit neutral on a tabletop and had a huge endo, and I thought he was done. Luckily, he did get up and ride around slow. Hopefully he's okay. But the bottom line is, all that action, like I could barely keep my breath. After telling you about all this stuff that happened, there's the big A. I just wanted to get that in there. That's pretty rad to have all that action and such a loud audience. But the only thing that was tame tonight was actually Jet Lawrence. Speaking of crowd favorites, right? I think they really wanted to hype Jet up tonight, getting him back at Anaheim 1 after he raced East. Last year we didn't even have Anaheim in other years with the pandemic and all that. But it was uneventful. He didn't look good in practice. Crashed a few times, said it was no big deal. He knew he was gonna crash. Track was that gnarly. Said his only goal in the daytime and the heat race was just to not die on this super gnarly, wet, soft, rutted track. And then in the main event, he started busting out the quad at the end of the rhythm lane and did what Jet Lawrence does, which is win more races. RJ Hampshire says this is by far the best he's ever been at an opener. He admits he's never really been in the title hunt in a championship before, and he just wants to stay close. Jamie from Vital tried to prod him and say like, oh, Jet's got all this hype. Do you get jealous of that? Does it motivate you? RJ's like, no, man. He's won way more races than I have, and I've been racing longer than him. He's won the last 3 titles. I can't take any of that from him. I just got to focus on myself. RJ was much happier with his motorcycle this year than last year, which was tough. And Cameron McAdoo was running second for a while. He made a mistake in one of those tough rhythms, got arm pump, had to settle for third. He was happy with that. I'm the guy who always says on Tuesday, don't predict mud races. There was so much talk about this being a mudder. I knew it wouldn't be a mud race, and it wasn't a mud race. But I will say the conditions were worse than I expected them to be. They had the track covered, but it was already wet when they built it. And although it did dry out a lot yesterday and today, it was still gnarly and rutted. East Coast like is what Tomac said. He's like, well, at least I know now my bike works well on East Coast dirt. And along those lines, we're in for more because it's raining in Oakland right now. It's gonna rain all week, and it might even, dun dun dun, this is the key. You only have a true mud race if it rains on the day of the race. They can fix anything as long as it doesn't rain when the track is open on race day, and it is scheduled to do that in Oakland right now, 7 days from now, but that one's gonna be tough. I think we might be in for a mud race, which I hate predicting a week in advance. But whatever, the lessons the guys learn with their bikes and how dynamic and exciting this race was because the track was so gnarly, I don't know. This might not necessarily be a bad thing. A fantastic night. Those cheers, that loud crowd in that stadium can't be wrong. Anaheim 1, absolutely electric for 2023. Monster Energy Supercross. Except there's one little dampener if you're expecting this to be an amazing, exciting season. Eli Tomac had a new motorcycle on a very difficult track, and it looked fantastic. And Eli Tomac usually has to come from behind a little bit in championships because he usually starts slow. He's already got the new bike figured out, and he's already the points leader. Good luck with that, everybody. Real quick, I don't have an update on Austin Forkner, but we know this for sure. That is the worst thing that can happen. Tom, is that the worst thing that can happen?
Man.
First freaking start of the year, man.
I have it head on. I watched it straight dead center.
And still can't figure out what happened?
No idea. It was just violent.
Just violent. So I heard it might be a leg injury. See you, Kid Palmer. That's Kid Palmer of Cycle News. Been covering Anaheims for 40 years now. So you think I've been to a lot of these. Yeah, so Forkner, get well soon. Not sure what the injury level is, but I know it's bad. And my gosh, if there's one dude, besides maybe Cincerillo, who didn't want to come out of here with an injury, it is Austin Forkner. And he didn't even make it into the first turn of the first race of the year. And to make it worse, he was by far the best 250 rider in qualifying. Hey, we're in Anaheim. It was muddy today. I couldn't do track walk. Why? Because Jacob Hayes here told me to step up my shoe game and wear all white Nikes. So I did it. And I couldn't do track walk.
January 7th, 2023, and Weege has made a fashion statement. A full fashion statement. It's impressive.
I don't want to tell you how old I am, but it's the first time in X amount of years, because it's never happened. Couldn't do track walk. Nice white shoes, though.
Yours are great.
Hey, did that guy wear white shoes on track walk?
Yes.
Not those. Yeah, they destroyed? They're pretty bad.
Ruined.
So I need 2 pairs of white shoes.
But he's got plenty of money, so he can just grab a new set.
Yeah, I'm
So
not.
do you, though. So do you.
Oh, yeah.
So do you.
No, I do. I'm just not spending it. I'm not spending it. Dark side, we had Jets and Donuts in the press box.
Yes, we did.
You were happy about it.
It made my whole night. It was better than the racing. They were good.
We just kept downing them before the mains.
Yeah. It doesn't fit my diet, but I ate 6 of them.
No.
It's okay.
6? I had 3.
We'll wear it off tomorrow.
This is the Weege Show, everybody. We'll be right back. We're going to go to the pits and find some more athletes. Only Jet Lawrence is left there doing press, and we're not even supposed to interview him right now because the press conference is over. Watch it on YouTube. Be right back. Plug for your YouTube channel. Watch the press conferences there. Yeah. May, I'm only here to ask about one thing. Did you do track walk in the mud with white shoes?
No, I had some beta shoes not these ones.
Are they destroyed now?
They're already destroyed, so we're good.
Oh, you brought the beaters in person.
Yes, we brought them.
I've got a lot to learn.